Hello, beautiful friends. It's Leah Marie here with your weekly oracle reading. And this week I have a special reading coming in from the Past Life Oracle deck. So I have been getting this calling to do a pick a card specific to past life related concerns, challenges, or to get insights or clarity from past life experiences. So, regardless of what it is that you believe in, there are influences coming from other places and spaces and time. And I do believe we have all had at least a handful of past lives, if not many past lives. And that any unresolved issues that we did have from those spaces are things that, in many cases, we are going to be given the opportunity to heal and clear out in this life. And I did have a cardinal just fly into the tree, which to me is a confirming sign for that. And it really is about us going deeper in within ourselves. So we might have things that we notice in this life that we're not quite sure, like, okay, this feels like it's been going on longer, or, I don't remember feeling anything in this life, that I feel would contribute to this kind of feeling. And those are especially key nuggets when you have those kinds of things happen. Those are pointing to potential past life connections. And definitely taking that one. And so, with today's reading, I am just going to invite you to, connect with the energy of past lives, connect with the energy of any challenges, or if you came here with a question that you wanted clarity about or guidance on that could be related to past lives, it may not be. So, I just want you guys to feel into whatever messages come through. As always, connect with your heart center before picking card 1, 2, 3, or more. There could be a bigger story between these as well, so we'll see. And if there is any questions or anything that you'd like to share, all that information is in the description box below, so you can check that out as well. And if you like this sort of energy of past life, going into diving deeper, this is something I do offer one-on-one, not only past life readings, but also special healing and coaching sessions specifically designed to clear out past life energies and help you take away the gifts and the blessings from those and release the heavy old energies that you don't need to carry anymore. So please feel free to reach out if you're interested in that as well. So we're going to go over and start with card 1 here. And the first card that's coming out is imprisonment or slavery. So, with this is speaking to a particular life in which you may have experienced imprisonment or some type of slavery. And with that, oftentimes in this life, that will come out in ways where you feel that you may be in situations where there's a sense of imprisonment or a sense of servitude to someone or something other than yourself. Now, these patterns, as I mentioned in the intro, these are patterns that are playing out potentially in your life to help show you that there is still healing that needs to happen. So while you might not actually be imprisoned or actually living your life as a slave, it is symbolic in this life for what may have been in a past life very literal for you. So when this card comes out, it's really about exploring your life and seeing, is there anywhere in your life where you feel caged, where you feel a sense of actual like imprisonment, in that you don't know how to break free from something, that you're perhaps bound to something. Or even with this, I mean, and there's not a whole lot in this image, but what there is bars and doors. However, I want to point out that this main door is actually open, and there is a hallway where we can't really see what's going on in the very back end. We just see that there is this door open. So with this life, it's not going to be to the same degree that it was perhaps in this past life. And this could be related to one or more lives in which you have experienced one or the both of these actual energies. So take that into consideration as well. So with past life healing and clearing, we need to first uncover where it's coming from. So with this, I'm encouraging you to do some meditation and inner reflection about any areas, as I mentioned, in your life currently where you feel a sense of restriction, imprisonment, or servitude to something outside of yourself, whether that be a job, whether it be a relationship, to or with anyone, in which you don't feel you are the one in control of being there. And I say this because in this life, you are very much in control of being there. It's just perhaps not being perceived as a choice at this time. However, we always have a choice. So, unless you're literally in these circumstances, you're going to have a lot more choice. Even in these circumstances, there are aspects of choice. How you're going to choose to engage with that. Though I feel like if you're here, these are not relevant to this current life. So, with this energy, once you can look into where these feelings are, what aspects of your life are they related to, then you can start going deeper within to discover what is it that is holding you in place. What choices are you currently still making? Where might you be giving your power to someone or something else and allowing yourself to remain feeling imprisoned or in servitude to someone or something else? And then once you go into that route, you can determine for yourself, is this working for you? Is this a place that you are finding value? Is it building you up? Is it helping you fulfill your purpose? Or is it hindering you from forward growth and movement? So it's up to you to determine not only what's going on, where is it happening, but then choosing how do you want to engage with it going forward. So really seeing, as I mentioned, that door is open, and we did actually have a card. It might have been last week or the week before, in the middle, I believe, where it was the door was open and the individual had a golden key in their hand, and they were standing in front of the open door, but they hadn't actually moved through it. So if you did pick that card, this could be a continuation of that. You do in this life have the keys to releasing yourself from any prison, because in some senses, this is feeling self-imposed as well, especially if you're choosing to stay, even though it doesn't feel good, even though you've been given signs and signals that things aren't healthy, and you're still continuing to stay. Now, it's not to say that staying where you're at isn't acceptable. It just may require, at the very least, a shift in perspective, a shift in the way that you want to engage with life and with your circumstances that allows you to feel free. Because if you are in any space right now where you're not literally imprisoned, then it is a choice on a much bigger level in terms of staying where you're at. And this could even be a mindset. So let's say you have thought patterns that have been happening coming forward a lot. If you're staying in those and not choosing to break away and start reconditioning by integrating new positive thought patterns that support your growth and connection, it can be us even being imprisoned in our own thoughts as well. So whether this is past life related, and maybe even the thought patterns could be past life related, this is really encouraging you to explore areas where these energies of feeling bound or stuck in something need to be addressed in order for you to move forward, in order for you to actually feel the sense of freedom that is here right now for you. It just needs you to come in and claim it, and to, use that golden key, as I mentioned, to let yourself out and to expand what reality really is for you by clearing out any of these feelings if you're finding that you have some within you or in your life, in any aspect of your life. So I encourage you to do that exploration, and please feel free to share any nuggets of wisdom that you uncover with your process. So sending you so much light for a great week. Going to move on to card 2, which is phobias. So just going to bring that in. And this is a really basic looking card, and I appreciate that about it, because it's not about us going in and activating anybody's phobia. It is more about us addressing that there is an energy of phobia or phobias coming from a previous life. So this can be related to anything that causes you to have a very strong emotional and often physical response. Could even be like the sense of anxiety, panic, or PTSD getting triggered when you either see said object or thing, or you're in a particular situation that triggers it. So I'm going to talk high level on this one because I'm not interested in triggering anybody's phobias. It's more about an invitation for you to look at anything in your life, whether it's something really little or something that causes a really extreme response. And in most cases, phobias do trigger more severe responses where there's an absolute aversion to something that maybe doesn't really make sense. And so I'm inviting you guys to really explore your life and to notice, are there any spaces where you have had things trigger emotions and very sort of panicky or anxiety based feelings that didn't make sense to you, or that you are currently experiencing absolute extreme aversions to? And again, you're just like, I don't understand why have this aversion to this, and it has these emotions, and maybe you cry or you get angry or you get upset. It's just generally with phobias, it's rooted very deeply. And so this is just signaling to you that if there's a challenge in your life, something that has really been rooted very deeply emotionally, I would encourage you to explore the feelings, not necessarily the trigger, but the feelings that come up, and go into, okay, show me more of this picture. See if you can find a space and time or any images or any other indications of time periods where this may have occurred for you. So I'm getting like a couple of things that I'm just going to share these because they're coming through. So I just had a flash of like a farm field come into my awareness, and a creek and a river, and something related to water. So that might be for some of you to explore. This is also giving me the awareness to say if there's things that maybe you felt you've wanted to do in your life, but every time you consider doing them, a lot of fear comes up. This could also be related to a phobia as well. So now these can be more complex. So as you're exploring your world within this, if you do feel something more triggered, please reach out. This is something I do help people with, do phobia cures and coaching to help with that. So this is a space where do what you can. If you feel like it's outside your wheelhouse, do reach out for help. Now, it's also important to note with fears and phobias, especially deeper rooted ones, if it does get triggered, it's important to remember that you are here in a safe space now and grounded and taken care of. And so if you do find that you get triggered with something and it opens up a lot more, it's important to really come back to the space and knowing that it's from the past and it's not occurring right now. And this is a part of why clearing things like this is so important, because they can still be operating in the here and now, even when that threat or that concern isn't right in front of us. And so this is why, again, they don't necessarily make sense, and this is really just going to apply to a handful of you, I feel, who might be having a deep aversion to something that doesn't make sense, that might actually be holding you back from moving forward. So, this is an important side note as well. If you've been wanting to do something and really feeling like every time you try to go and do it, there's like this huge fear that comes up that you don't understand, it feels like that this could be leading you down a path to discover the root. But because phobias can open up so much, spirit's going to take you in baby steps to keep you safe, protected, and able to address it step by step. So that's also important with this card as well. So thank you so much for those of you who picked card 2. Sending you a ton of love for the great week. Take care. So we're going to go over to card 3, which is authority figures. So bring that in there. So we're seeing the gavel, which is more associated to a judge or a courtroom. So this could be applicable in your circumstance. However, I'm getting the sense that this is related to authority figures in general. So, not just court based law enforcement, but it could also be teachers, it could be bosses, it could be parents, it really could be anyone that you perceive to be a person in a place of authority or someone having authority over you. Now, again, I'm actually getting this interesting message that it may be a perceived authority over you as well. So the energy that's flowing through with this is that there is some sort of disharmony related to people in a position of authority. Now that could be that there is fear of people in authority positions. It could be lack of trust or a push away from authority figures or just a total like I don't want to have anything to do with authority figures or people in positions of power. So there is some sense of an imbalance related to authority figures. Now, one of the ways that I'm receiving this energy is that some of you may actually feel compelled to be leaders or maybe people that are in the position of authority themselves. And in some ways, if there's unresolved issues here, or if you have a lack of trust in other authority figures or have had experiences in this life or a past life, that were perhaps negative or less than positive in relation to someone in a position of power. If there's disharmony in that as you are moving to step into a leadership role, there might be a dynamic playing out where you're not able to fully step into that leadership role because of an unconscious or perhaps conscious fear of becoming like that old authority figure that perhaps you felt took advantage or that did take advantage or that did things that were not aligned with love and care for the people that they were overseeing. So recently speaking with someone, excuse me, and this must, I'm getting this strong sense of speaking our truth because my voice is getting a little weird inside and it hasn't been doing that. So I do feel that as I'm saying this, for some of you, it can be related to speaking up when someone in a place of authority does something that is not looking out for the people they're overseeing, but perhaps taking advantage of their position in power. So, this particular person I was about to reference was speaking about something that had happened to them as a child with someone they looked at in an authority position. And there was an abuse that had happened, but it was anchored in such a way that it was like this person was in a place of authority telling this child they loved them, but then doing a very inappropriate action. And so this put in place this coding, not only related to authority figures, but also with how they code love as well. And so I'm using this example because I really feel that if there's any disharmony or perhaps distortion in the way that we perceive figures of power and authority, and us coming into a role of leadership, that will need to be cleared out so that you can fully step into a leadership role or into a role of authority. Now, you get to choose what that looks like. However, it's going to be important, as I mentioned, to clear this old energy first. So, really do some meditation or some inner work to find out first, like, how do you feel about authority figures? What do you feel embodies a good, high quality person in a position of power? What does that look like? What kind of actions do they take? How do they communicate with people? And really take a look at that, because if you have had people in the past in positions of authority that misused or abused that position, it's important to clear and release that energy and redefine what that looks like for you, regardless of whether you want to be in a leadership role or not, simply so that you can look at what are your boundaries for someone in authority. And if someone is in that position and they start crossing those boundaries or misuse that power according to your heart, then that's when you will ideally want to speak up for yourself, which I feel is why my voice was getting weird for a second there. It's like being able to speak up from a place of love to authority figures. So, this side note is also coming through that perhaps some of you may have challenges sometimes speaking up to bosses, supervisors, parents, or anyone that you perceive to be in a position of power, especially one that you feel is a position of power above yourself. Now, I get that there are pay grades, especially when we're looking at business. There are hierarchies in family based on when people are born. And at the same time, it is up to you to determine who you are going to communicate with and who you are going to exchange energy with. So even if someone is in a perceived position of power or hierarchy above you, it is still important for you to have the sense of being able to speak your voice and your boundaries. And so, really looking at if you're not able to do that and you don't feel it comes from this life, or you've cleared out a bunch of stuff in this life and you still haven't resolved it, then I would definitely do some exploration going back into your, whole soul's journey and asking to have the files come forward that are going to help you see where the disharmony is so that you can look at what's going on there in order to clear and release it. So, and as I mentioned with other cards, if you need any help or guidance with that, please let me know. Otherwise, really have a, loving journey exploring this and your relationship with authority and people in positions of power, and kind of just see what you uncover in that journey. And feel free to share any of that information with me. I'm always curious to see what comes up with people's deep dive adventures. So, sending you so much love for an amazing week. Take care.